59 seconds is all it took.
So you've learnt nothing.
Smiles ended up in a disaster. "242 flyers were on the ill-fated plane. It crashed into a medical college, leaving several MBBS students dead. Eyewitnesses recall horror.
एकदम से आवाज आया, भूकंप जैसा लगा, बाहर आया तो धुआं मालूम नहीं था, मेरे पेरेंट्स केस हुआ, ऐसा मालूम नहीं था।
जो ऑफिस से बाहर निकला तो मैंने देखा कि आवाज, जोर से आवाज आया विंग्स का, फिर पूरा धुआं भर गया। लोग यहाँ से भगदड़ मची, उसके बाद आके देख रहे थे ये हादसा की स्थिति।
Victims' families count losses.
हमारी ट्रेन जा रही थी,
1 बजे जा रही थी,
1:10 की फ्लाइट थी और जा रही थी लंदन। तो लंदन जाने से पहले ही क्रैश हो गया प्लेन।
मेरी साड़ी था, वो ऑफिसर थी, लंदन जा रही थी।
हाँ, फिर
1 घंटे में समझ रहा है प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, कोई कुछ भी समझ नहीं मिला।
Air tragedy numbs India.
Good morning, everyone. You're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me, Kanishka Sarkar. We'll begin with the most tragic story that has sent shockwaves across the nation. In a devastating accident near Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport, Air India flight AI-171 crashed just moments after takeoff. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner en route London with 242 people on board went down, striking a residential complex for doctors and triggering massive explosions. More than 200 bodies have been recovered from the crash site, a number that may continue to rise. Meanwhile, Gujarat police has confirmed that more than 290 people have lost their lives. The Tata Group has announced compensation package of 1 crore rupees for the families of those who lost their lives in the accident, and also committed to covering medical expenses and providing comprehensive support to the injured. This marks the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner. The US National Transportation Safety Board is also dispatching a team of experts to India to support the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau in probing the cause of this tragic incident. Sources have also informed that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to visit the Ahmedabad plane crash site and take stock of the situation. Our thoughts are with the families of the affected by the unimaginable loss. In fact, Times Network's Hiten brings you the ground report from the crash site. Let's take a look.
देख पा रहे होंगे जब तकनीकी खामी हुई, उसके बाद थोड़ा नीचे हुआ प्लेन और उसके बाद जैसे क्रैश हुआ, 241 की मौत हो चुकी है। अब आगे की तरफ अगर हम आपको और ले जाकर तस्वीर दिखाएं तो देखिए ये मैस पूरी तरह से अस्त नष्ट हो चुका है। आप देखिए, अगर मैं आपको तस्वीर दिखा पाऊं तो देखिए थालियां कैसे पड़ी हुई है। उन लोग खाना खा रहे थे उस वक्त ये हादसा हुआ है और यहाँ पर देखिए किस तरीके से वो प्लेन क्रैश होने के बाद, धमाके के बाद सारी दीवारें पड़ी है। और ये मैस का एरिया देखिए, ये लंच कर रहे थे स्टूडेंट्स। ये देखिए थाली पूरी भरी हुई है, पानी, छाछ है, दाल है, पूरी थाली भरी हुई है हर किसी की। और ये उसी वक्त ये प्लेन क्रैश हुआ और उसमें इतना बड़ा हादसा हो गया। आप ये तस्वीर देखेंगे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि ये हादसा कितना भयावह था, क्योंकि यहाँ कई लोग खा रहे थे। इन्हीं में से 45 अभी अस्पताल में अपना इलाज करा रहे हैं और जानकारी के मुताबिक 75 जितने रेसिडेंशियल डॉक्टर्स की भी यहाँ डेथ हुई है। अगर आप देखेंगे सामने की तरफ से, यहाँ से देखिए किस तरह वो प्लेन का टेल एंटर हुआ और दीवार देखिए यहाँ तक आ पहुंची है जहाँ पर बच्चे बैठकर खा रहे थे, क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपको थालियां नजर आ रही है, देखिए सब में खाना है, धूल है। अब देखिए भरा हुआ है सब कुछ खाने से भरा हुआ है, लेकिन पीछे की तरफ आपको कुछ नजर नहीं आ रहा है क्योंकि ये पूरा का पूरा एरिया जो है अब मलबे में तब्दील हो चुका है। बिल्कुल देखिए 45 अभी भी हॉस्पिटलाइज है, लेकिन इन 6 हॉस्टल्स में सिर्फ रेसिडेंशियल डॉक्टर्स अकेले नहीं बल्कि वो अपने फैमिली मेंबर्स के साथ रहते थे। कोई छोटी बच्ची भी उनके साथ थी। हालांकि अभी ऑफिशियल फिगर अभी आना बाकी है, लेकिन जो एज पर सिविल हॉस्पिटल के सोर्सेज ये बताया जा रहा है कि इन 7 बिल्डिंग्स में से 75 डेड बॉडी को रिकवर किया गया है और बाकी इस प्लेन में जो मौजूद थे वो 240 लोगों की डेथ हो गई है, जिसमें गुजरात के एक पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री विजय रूपानी भी थे, जिनका कंफर्मेशन CR पाटिल ने खुद किया। ये मैं आपको तस्वीर दिखाऊं, ये देखिए प्लेन के कॉकपिट की तस्वीर है। यहाँ पर अभी भी ब्लैक बॉक्स को लेकर सर्च ऑपरेशन जो है वो लगातार चल रहा है और ये बाकी का जो हिस्सा आप देख रहे हैं वो बाकी पूरा प्लेन का हिस्सा है। आप देखिए सीट वगैरह सब कुछ पूरी तरह से जल के राख हो चुका है। और अगर मैं आपको एक और तस्वीर अगर मैं आपको दिखा पाऊं तो सामने की तरफ अगर आप बिल्डिंग पर देखेंगे तो अभी भी वहां पर आपको आग की लपटें दिखेगी। उसी बिल्डिंग के बैक साइड पर प्लेन का जो बैक साइड का टेल एरिया है वो लटका हुआ है।
All right, those are the visuals that are coming in from the crash site. But let's move on. Now, Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu, along with Home Minister Amit Shah, inspected the crash site and assured that thorough investigation will be carried out to ascertain the cause of the crash. Home Minister Amit Shah also visited the civil hospital in Ahmedabad to meet the injured. He also met the only survivor from the plane. Now, today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also likely to visit Ahmedabad this morning itself. Sources say that Gujarat administration is on standby for PM Modi's arrival, which was expected around 7:30 a.m. this morning. Meanwhile, DNA samples are being collected from the family members of the deceased victims to ascertain the identity of the bodies. After the DNA test, sources say it will take about 3 days for the bodies to be handed over to the families. Now, Home Minister Amit Shah is also assured that the government stands firmly with the families of the deceased, offering full support during this hour of grief. Let's listen in.
1.25 लाख लीटर ईंधन विमान के अंदर ही था और लगभग गर्मी तापमान इतना ऊंचा हो गया कि किसी को बचाने की मौका ही नहीं मिला। अब मैं घटना स्थान पर भी जाकर आया हूं। सारे यात्रियों के मृतदेह को बाहर निकालने का काम लगभग समाप्त हो चुका है। जितने यात्रियों के परिजन यहां पहुंच चुके हैं वो सबका DNA लेने की कार्यवाही भी 2-3 घंटों में समाप्त हो जाएगी। विदेश में जिनके परिजन हैं उनको सूचना देने की कार्यवाही समाप्त हो चुकी है और जैसे ही पहुंचते हैं उनके भी DNA सैंपल लिए जाएंगे और मृतदेहों की पहचान के लिए जितने मृतदेह मिले हैं इनके भी DNA सैंपल लेने की कार्यवाही समाप्त हो चुकी है।
That's the word coming in from the Home Minister. But Air India MD and CEO Campbell Wilson also expressed deep sorrow about the plane crash, and he said that Air India is standing firm with the families of the victims. Let's listen in.
I would like to express our deep sorrow about this event. This is a difficult day for all of us at Air India, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, their families, and loved ones. The investigations will take time, but anything we can do now, we are doing. We know that many people are concerned for the welfare of their loved ones. We have set up a special helpline that friends and family can reach us at.
Investigations will take some time. That's the word coming in from the Air India CEO. But let's also go across and listen into what UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had to say about the ongoing investigation investigation of the Air India plane crash.
Images and news from India is absolutely devastating, and I speak for the entire country saying our thoughts are with each and every one of those involved. There will be British and Indian families across the land who are absolutely impacted by this, and our thoughts first and foremost are with them. Obviously the investigation is going on. We've dispatched an investigation team that's been deployed. The Foreign Secretary is leading on this, and we'll obviously update as soon as we can. But we're working with the Indian authorities on this to establish the facts. I would say to all families, friends of anybody affected to please contact the Foreign Office for further information.
All right, then moving on. Former Union Minister for Civil Aviation, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, believes that it was very difficult to tell the cause of the accident at this point, but that it can only be confirmed once the investigation is done. Let's listen in.
के बाद ही पता चल सकेगा कि इस हादसे का कारण क्या है। अत्यंत दुखद, असामान्य, और मैं समझता हूं कि इस दुखद परिस्थिति में कोई ऐसी टिप्पणी करना, और मैं कोई तकनीकी विशेषज्ञ नहीं हूं, मैं विमान उड़ाता हूं, लेकिन इन सब चीजों के बारे में कोई अलग से टिप्पणी मैं नहीं कर सकता हूं। अत्यंत खेदजनक, अत्यंत दुखद और बहुत दुख का विषय है कि इतने सारे नागरिकों का इससे अधिक इस पर कुछ नहीं कहना चाहूँगा।
All right, that's the word coming in from the former union minister. But now let's also understand the estimated insurance liability of the crashed aircraft and the key insurers involved. Anurag Shah joins us with all the details.
Tragic incident of Ahmedabad plane crash will have liabilities for insurance companies also. Air India's fleet has an insurance coverage of $20 billion from group of companies, which is led by Tata AIG General Insurance. Tata AIG General Insurance is the lead insurer with a 48% coverage. New India Assurance has a share of 34%. ICICI Lombard's share is 10%. United India and National Insurance has share of 1% each. So for the crashed aircraft, the hull insurance liability is expected to be of $80 million. So hull insurance covers the damage, the physical damage to the aircraft. But apart from the hull insurance liability, there will be liability for public liability insurance also, for the travel insurance also, which will depend on various other factors also. But insurance companies will not suffer much because for the complete coverage, the insurance companies have taken a reinsurance support. So there was a complete reinsurance cover was there from the global reinsurers. So insurance companies will not suffer a lot on the claim front, but for the renewals going ahead, the premium will increase because of the plane crash incident.
All right, those are the details as far as aircraft insurance liabilities are concerned. But with that, let's slip into news for the hearing impaired. Whereas the broad market S&P 500 added nearly 0.4%. It was nearing its all-time high that it reached in February. It's just less than 2% off that level. All three indexes are on their way to launch the third consecutive week of positive gains. However, U.S. stock futures, they slid last night as tensions in the Middle East are worsening. Now, stock futures fell as Israel's defense minister declared a special state of emergency following an Israeli attack on Iran. Now, two U.S. officials said that there is no U.S. involvement or assistance. Now, following these tensions in the Middle East, Brent futures also spiked over 1% to around that $73 per barrel level this morning. If you look at Asia markets, it's also sea of red with the reports of Israeli military strike on Iran, which is keeping investors jittery despite the decent gains that we saw on Wall Street overnight. Most stocks were in the red, with Japan's Nikkei leading the losses with cuts of over 1%. China's Shanghai also in the red, trading with cuts of about 0.5%. So was Hang Seng trading almost 0.5% lower. Only Kospi was trading in the green. Now back home, the Nifty did give up that 24,900 level yesterday, with major declines coming in the last hour of trading. However, as of now, the implied open suggests a gap down start with cuts of more than 200 points. But moving on, let's also talk more about the situation in Israel. Now, the situation is worsening in West Asia. Israel said that today it has struck Iran, and latter has confirmed that explosions were heard in Tehran. But first, let's go across to Sumita, who's standing by to get us all the details.
Yes, Middle East tensions have escalated, and like you rightly said, Israel has carried out quote-unquote preemptive strikes against Iran on Friday, and that really targeted its nuclear plant and military sites. And this, remember, U.S. President just 2 days back, in fact, just yesterday, he warned of a possible massive conflict in the region. Israel declared a state of emergency. Their defense minister, Israel Katz, stated that retaliatory action from Tehran was possible following the operation. Of course, you were talking about the oil prices as well, which was seeing a surge after that attack really came about. In fact, Trump said, just yesterday to reporters that he does not want to say imminent, but it looks that that sort of an attack could very well happen. He also said that a pretty good deal on Iran's nuclear program was fairly close, but he did say that an Israeli attack on its arch rival could really wreck chances of a possible agreement. So yes, tensions really escalating between Israel and, of course, Iran. We're given to understand that Netanyahu has vowed less restraint actually since October 2023 on Israel by Tehran-based Hamas, which actually triggered this entire massive Israeli offensive in Gaza. In fact, the United States has stated, Marco Rubio has put out a post. He says that U.S. is not involved in any way in the latest escalation that's happened between Israel and Iran. And we're also now given to understand, as far as this conflict is concerned, that preemptive strike, in those preemptive strikes, a very important official of Iran military corps is now reported to be killed. That essentially was seen on ticker of one of the Iranian news channels. So definitely it's going to be an escalation soon, can be anticipated from Iran as well. Meanwhile, Trump's envoy, Israel envoy, Ambassador Mike Huckabee, he said that he was staying in the embassy all night after U.S. warned of high tensions in the region. So tensions escalating. The IDF Chief of General Staff has stated, after these
All right. Thank you, Sumita, for getting us all those details. But moving on, oil prices in response to this tension in the Middle East have spiked more than 6% on fears of a supply crunch. Ashesha is joining us with all the details.
Well, yes, oil market continues to be in focus today, and Brent crude has surged nearly 6 to 7% this morning. It is nearing that $75 per barrel mark on account of rising tensions in the Middle East. Remember, for this week so far, it is up nearly 12%. And we had seen some kind of losses on a year-to-date basis, but all of those losses in Brent crude have now reversed, as Brent crude is nearing that $75 per barrel mark. And as I mentioned, it is up 12% for this week, and it is on course for the biggest weekly gain that we have seen since 2020. So that's the kind of uptick that we have seen in oil prices. As I mentioned, geopolitical tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East, and there are fears of supply disruption, because of which we are seeing this kind of uptick in the oil prices. Now we have JP Morgan, which had come out with a report earlier this week where they said that Brent crude could cross $130 per barrel mark if at all concerns in Middle East continue to escalate. So this is their worst case scenario that they had come out with, $130 per barrel, and it could cross that mark. That's the report that JP Morgan had come up with. Apart from this, remember, China and US also signed a trade deal earlier this week, or there are reports that it could be signed anytime soon. And this is also a positive for the oil market, because China, remember, is the biggest importer of Brent crude. So any positive news that comes in from China is also leads to an uptick in oil prices. OPEC Plus a couple of days ago hiked its output target by 411,000 barrels per day for the month of July, and there were reports which suggested that an equal amount of output hike could be done for the months of September and October as well. So several reports about output hike by OPEC Plus, but for now we have news of supply disruption because of escalating geopolitical tensions of Middle East, and that is why Brent crude is nearing that $75 per barrel mark.
Destruction of the State of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
All right, then, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Market Cafe. We'll keep bringing you more updates from Ahmedabad on the Middle East front as well, and also how oil prices are being impacted going forward. But stay tuned to 18 Now as the market is going to take all the action forward.
When the stakes are high and the answers are elusive, there's one voice unafraid